The Secret Truth. Through forgiveness we awaken, transforming information and knowledge into wisdom. And now our co-hosts, Charlotte Littlefield and George Butler.
Welcome back to The Secret Truth. I'm George Butler along with my co-host,
Charlotte Littlefield, and welcome back to Dr. Ann Blake Tracy, author of the book Prozac, Panacea, or Pandora. And welcome back, Dr. Tracy.
Yeah, Dr. Tracy, let's get into this SSRI babies that Charlotte brought up before we took our break there at the top of the hour.
All right. There are terrible birth defects associated with these medications. Generally, the heart not forming correctly, but there are even worse birth defects with organs being born outside the body. What is far more common is miscarriage, and many are unaware that these drugs will produce miscarriage. But high serotonin levels have always been known to do that because initially serotonin was given to pregnant women to put them into labor. So if you're going to increase your serotonin levels, they're going to go into labor. Anyway, the heart defects are horrible. In fact, and how many there have been, we have no idea, because people have not been warned of this. Of course, I've been screaming about it forever, but generally people have not heard. For instance, I called Senator Orrin Hatch's cousin about a particular business. It was a business call, and he said, but it was not about the drugs. And he said, just a minute, let me do this and this and this and this. He said, I'm sorry that I'm not ready, but I had to take my daughter today into the heart specialist because she was born with a hole in her heart. And she was 15. And I just immediately said, which antidepressant was your wife on when she carried your daughter? Without hesitation, he turned to his wife and said, honey, which antidepressant were you taking when you carried so-and-so? And he said, Paxil. It was Paxil. Remember that's when you gave me Paxil? Because you thought I needed it? So I had to explain to him that his daughter was born with a hole in her heart and had been through 15 years of all of this torture and all these medications and everything else she'd had to go through. Many of them have to have open heart surgery, all because her mother was taking an antidepressant when she carried her. And now we got the Mothers Act that's trying to push women into taking antidepressants when they are pregnant. In New Jersey, they'll even have the police pick up a pregnant woman and take her in for treatment if they think she's depressed. It's scary.
Where are the professionals out there with any good sense? I mean, are they just totally controlled and manipulated by the pharmaceuticals, or don't they read some of your books and everything and wake up to some of these terrible, side effects and stuff?
I had one psychiatrist that I couldn't believe it. He had a patient that jumped off his clinic roof. Luckily, the kid didn't die. He just broke an arm. And so I talked to the psychiatrist for a little while about it, and I said, I offered to let him read my book. He looked at me and he said, don't you have a small pamphlet or something? Because my book is almost 500 pages long. I mean, I covered every aspect of these drugs, from mind control to all the physical effects of the drugs, the mania that it causes, the sleep disorders, the false accusations of abuse that we've seen so much of since these hit the market, the spiritual aspects of the drugs, everything. I wanted to know everything that there possibly was about these drugs. So this doctor looks at it and he goes, you know, I really don't have time to read that. Don't you have just a little pamphlet about it? And I just said, sorry, I'll see you in court then. Because that's what they've got to know. If they've got over 25% of their patient base, which most doctors do, if they have 25% of their patient base on these drugs, and they don't care enough to sit down and read a book that has that much documentation for a fourth of their patients, what is wrong?
Oh, that's very, very wrong. The SSRI babies idea, are there two concepts here? One where a mother is carrying a child and she's on one of these drugs, and then are young children being prescribed these drugs also by psychiatrists and so forth?
Oh, yeah. The youngest one I've had so far has been a month old. But, yeah, little ones are being prescribed these all the time. There's here in Salt Lake, I know that there's a clinic that has literally pushed them to 2-year-olds for almost 2 decades. We have no idea of what these drugs do to a brain that is still developing.
As far as DNA, the effect on our DNA at the lowest level, or RNA, are there any clinical studies showing some problems further on with subsequent generations, or what?
As far as I know, nobody's looked at it. I do remember one particular study I found to be interesting was mothers who had taken Valium, that their children had a tendency to use LSD. These drugs, these antidepressants are very similar to LSD. So it'd be interesting to know how many patients had moms hooked on Valium. I don't know. I know I had a neighbor that had a problem with meth since he was very young. When I started doing a history on him to see if I could help give him some ideas, I talked to his mother, found out that she had been prescribed amphetamines while she was pregnant, which was very common back then, so that the mother would not gain too much weight during her pregnancy. So this fellow had been addicted to amphetamines since he was in the womb.
Well,
the listening audience can go to drugawareness.org and order a copy of your book or provide a donation. I just want to make sure that the book that we just referenced, Prozac, Panacea, or Pandora, is available at drugawareness.org. Listening audience, please go sign up for the free newsletter, and let's get active on this. We've got to get behind...
would you like to take some calls during this last segment if we can generate some?
No problem.
Okay, Charlotte, why don't you give that number out real quick? Call in number.
1-800, or is it the 1-800-259-5791?